Hello and welcome back to the White Paper channel. I'll start off by saying this is embarrassing as I'm basically making the same video from yesterday for today. So yesterday we discussed that the RSV vaccine had basically already completed clinical trials and that we really could be seeing data within the next month. Well, the same is going to be said of the mRNA 1020 and 1030 study. It was a phase 1 and 2 trial to test the immunogenicity and reactivity or reactogenicity of these vaccines. Now, previously or last year we had the mRNA 1010, which was Moderna's first generation flu vaccine, and it resulted in the results were pretty good. It was just as effective as the gold standard vaccine. But the downside was that it had significantly more side effects. And I'm not talking about growing another leg or a third eye, but it made you feel crummier. It made you feel like you had chills and made you have a fever, flu-like symptoms. And the market's thought was, why would somebody take this vaccine, which gives the same benefit but with more side effects? And the president, Stephen Hoge, said that, or Hoagie, not sure, said that the mRNA 1010 was just their fast attempt at developing a product, and that the next two coming down the pipeline would be substantially better and smoother. And these are those next two. It's the 1020 and the 1030. I discussed in a previous video how these are different, so I won't go into great detail about that today. I primarily wanted to point out that we are seeing that they have updated an actual primary completion date, which is November the 22nd, 2022. And so likely we are getting close to when we might expect them to be releasing that data, probably within the next month. The video that I was going to create was going to explain why we would probably be seeing some data from these two trials. In fact, I went ahead and left those slides in on this presentation. So as you can see on this slide, we are at our peak values for the year for the flu. And this is important because when you're testing a product, you need to test it in a high volume situation. Testing the flu in the summer would be basically useless because nobody in the treatment arm or the control arm would get the flu, and therefore you would have to wait longer and longer to get turnaround of your data. So the fact that we're seeing our flu numbers really take off means that we'll have our answer pretty soon. And the same could be said on this next slide here for the respiratory syncytial virus. So if you kind of zoom in at the dates, I don't know if it's going to be clear on YouTube, but you can see on the end here that we are at our peak here. You've got the blue line, which is the antigen test. You've got the purple line, which is PCR positive test. And you have this orange line, which is viral isolation, so culture in a laboratory. And all of those are currently at their peak for the year. So we're really going to get some pretty clean data on the efficacy of both of these vaccines in their studies. Now, obviously, we know that the data has been collected and that it has reached the outcome based off of these last two videos. But now you can kind of see when, and you can kind of predict when are we going to start seeing more data. I predict it's going to be likely either at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month. So to close out here, what should we discuss next? I'm going to leave it to the 9 of you subscribers. Which of these topics you would like to hear more about? I'm really excited to discuss the metabolic diseases. I think that's probably the most undervalued part of Moderna's pipeline. I think people drastically underestimate the turnaround time of these trials, especially since these trials don't need a phase 3 study. But, I mean, we could talk about COVID. I'm pretty burnt out on that. We could talk about any of these new and novel first to market vaccines. We could discuss the cancer vaccine. I think that the jury is still out on if the FDA is actually going to require a phase 3 study. If you guys want me to talk about why and what data I'm using to support that question, you can choose that. Or if you have a different stock, I would prefer one that maybe has like one or two drugs in their clinical pipeline and are either in clinical phases or closing, early or mid stage clinical phases. But yeah, just let me know. And until next time, goodbye.